just welcome. I'll echo that for what Maya was saying. It's always really nice to be able to see faces of the folks that we talk about so much. You guys are like our favorite people in the world to talk about to schools. And so it's really fun to actually be able to connect and chat with folks beyond just explaining what you do to schools and other folks who are interested. So the agenda for today, we'll go through some program changes and updates. Not a ton of big things. Well, I guess there's some big things this year. Just maybe not a ton of changes on your end quite yet. But we'll explain some things that are changing. We'll share some information about upcoming professional development opportunities, including some things that are coming up pretty quick. There's a new event calendar that is on our website, so we'll give you some information about that and how that might be a resource for you. Roster meetups is not something that I know about, Maya, so you might have to jump in on that.
Well, we will talk more about them in shortly,
Great.
because it's related to some of the other big changes and updates.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And then we'll kind of end gathering some feedback from you all about the way that we communicate with you all. And so I'll plug that now, in that it is helpful if you all are able to provide us some feedback at the end. So be prepared for that. You can skip to the next one. Big change. We changed our name this year. I think that should not be new information to you all, but because it's the first time that we're coming together with this particular group of people, we wanted to acknowledge that. Changing our name was kind of a long time coming. We had been having conversations for quite a few years about the fact that young audiences referred more to the fact that students would be sitting and would be passive. And so we wanted a name that reflected more the current goals of really getting young people involved in the arts and in the making and in the doing and in the learning. And so as part of our strategic planning process, we also decided to undergo conversations with our stakeholders, including you all should have received some surveys last year about our name and about who we are in the community. And we landed on Arts for Learning, which I think is kind of interesting because it was always kind of the sub tag of who we were. I didn't think that's what we were going to end up on. I thought that we were going to find that to be maybe too close to what we were previously, but I think it's a really good fit. It matches much better our mission of really having hands-on, abundant learning experiences that are tied to learning, that are tied to increasing students' understanding, both in the areas of arts and oftentimes in other subject areas as well. One thing I wanted to mention with this specifically is that we are still a member of the Greater Young Audiences Affiliate Network. So there's around 30 affiliates around the country. Most of them are not West Coast. They're kind of really spread out. But there are 30-ish affiliates around the country that are Young Audiences affiliates. About half of them have changed their name to something other than Young Audiences, and now we are one of those folks. There are quite a few other affiliates who have used the name Arts for Learning as their affiliate. So that's why we are Arts for Learning Northwest. You will often see us now use the acronym ALNW for Arts for Learning Northwest. But as part of that kind of wider network, you might also see some resources or opportunities come through that are still labeled Young Audiences, and that might just be because they are tied to that national network. So I know Maya recently shared information about credentialing. There's some PD things that they offer out. If you see something that still says Young Audiences, we're still part of that. It's just not our direct name anymore. Next slide. And the other big change that is not necessarily going to be a change for you all, but will be a change for our office staff, is that we're moving. We have been in the building that we are in downtown Portland for as long as I have been with the organization, and I believe as long as Josephine was with the organization, so it's at least 10 years. But we have decided that we need a slightly smaller footprint for our office space in general. And so as such, we are connecting with another arts nonprofit, with My Voice Music, who is building out a space on Southeast Stark in Montevilla area. So we will be at 8111 Southeast Stark. This is the My Voice Music space, and we will be renting space from them for our office. One of the really wonderful things about that space is that in addition to the office rooms that we will have kind of for our staff, there's also a programmatic space in the back. So My Voice Music is a music-based, obviously, nonprofit. They have 3 beautiful recording studio spaces, including like an area with a vocal booth, and then a larger space that we'll actually be using for our live set program this fall as kind of a test run for what can happen in that space. So we are excited about the possibilities there. They do programming in that space for after school programs, not usually on weekends, and some in the summer. As we're seeing less funding for programs in the summer months at the school level, we're curious about what that could look like if we have our own space to be able to offer things. So very much up in the air. There's a lot of questions about that right now, but we anticipate that as a staff, we will be moving into that space in November, roughly, though it's still not locked in stone yet. And I am going to share in the chat a link to a news story that gives a little bit more information about the My Voice music space and the fact that it has been a long dream for that particular organization, and specifically for the founder of that organization, who passed away not long ago. But the organization has still decided that, like, moving forward with this goal of creating a space that is a hub for music education for their organization as their mission, and for arts education in general, is a really big part of the mission of what they do. So we are looking forward to partnering with them, both as like a tenant sharing space in that way, but also finding other ways to be in community with them as we move forward with similar missions, even if we have some variances.
And I'm actually going to, we're going to toggle past our our next breakout room. Christy and I were laughing while you all were in your breakout rooms. I was saying that I am much faster in virtual space than I am in live space. So we will have a little more time, but I think we're going to first get to some more of the work that you all did last year. And I'm going to turn it over to Christy Zorrilla Soto.
Hey everyone, my name is Christy Zorrilla Soto, for those who don't. I'm the program manager for Central Oregon, so I'm based in Bend, and I'm gonna just say thank you for all this art experience that we have had this past year. And I have to read numbers and read numbers, and my first language is Spanish, so I'm not so good reading numbers in English, so I will try to do my best today. So we have had this past year 163,747 art experience, thanks to you guys, and this has benefited about 37,186 unique students from 128 different schools in 27 districts. Those districts are from Portland metro area, but also from Central Oregon. And those are countless memories that we have had this past year. And so this is all thanks to you, and thanks to you for sharing your experience, your passion, and your patience with the youth, and also your love for kids, for youth, and for teaching. Okay, program change, vaccinations. So as of spring 2023, Oregon and Washington Departments of Education no longer require COVID-19 vaccinations. So we actually recommend you to review school district protocols with the principal or the site manager before or during your planning meetings, so you can be ready for in-school programming. District has different protocols, and this is information for both Portland metro area teaching artists and also for Central.
Can I add real quick, Christy, to that? Just that also means previously we had required it as an organization that we would hold vaccine records on file just because it was a requirement at the state level. That is not true for Oregon or Washington right now. So it is no longer a policy of our organization either, that we will not be holding vaccine records or requiring that. So as Christy was mentioning, sometimes schools might have different suggestions, different policies. We have not seen any yet that are requiring vaccines, but that doesn't mean that it won't come. We know that schools sometimes change their minds or have different policies than one another. So it's still a good thing to check.
I think this is yours, Christy.
It's me. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, my mute button disappeared.
Wonderful. I got to chat about this a little bit in my breakout room, but we're having some staff transitions right now, which means that there's some new folks that you might not recognize coming on. Our school support team will include Christy and Christy, both of us. It will include Isabel, who you are meeting here for the first time. It will include Maya and Ryan and Kim, who you all know. And then there's another name on there. Hillary will be joining us starting in the beginning of October. I believe October 10th is her first day. So we've got two brand new folks coming on in the roles that Josephine and now Coco have vacated. So you can anticipate seeing emails from all of these folks. Don't be surprised by seeing emails from all of these folks. The other thing I mentioned to my quick breakout room is that we're in a transition time and I know something is going to fall through the cracks. And so if you're waiting on something for us, don't be afraid to bug us. It is a good time to do so. I'm a little worried about the things that I am going to miss. And so I will not be offended. I don't think anyone here will be offended if you give a little extra email or an extra call if you know that you're waiting on something from us, just because we're in a transition time right now. Something else that we're calling out is just recognizing the contract confirmation piece. You'll still send your contracts to the person who sent you the request. So if that is, well, Maya, I might ask you to help me with this section. I'm stumbling a little bit.
Yes. So your contract confirmations should include the name of one of us. Either the three people who are here, Ryan, Kim, or the four people who are here. I have to count myself in that. So Isabel, Christy, or myself, Kim and Ryan, and then Hillary. And I will send in next month in a TA update during the month of October, an updated staff sheet that has everyone's names, photos, titles, and contact information. So you'll have all of that current. The name of whoever is managing that will be on the emails that you receive with your residency requests. And so you can send that right back to that person. If in doubt, send it to Kim.
Great. The other new name that you might see on staff is Morgan. Morgan has moved into a role where she will be doing the payments. She is our new bookkeeper. And so Brett moved on to a different role at the end of last school year, and so Morgan is has been on for a little over a month at this point and is getting used to the processing of payments and contracts right now. So lots of new faces, which is exciting.
And let's see here. I need to shrink this so I can see my slides. The other thing that we have done is make a slight change to the performance confirmation process. There used to be a lot more back and forth between the school and Arts for Learning, and then Arts for Learning and performing artists that wound up sometimes losing quite a bit of time in communication translation or waiting for people. And so we are going to try something now, which is once you have indicated for performers, once that you have indicated that you are interested and available in a date that a school has requested you for, we're going to connect you directly to that school so that you can do the finalizing around confirming final confirmation of time, etc. And our hope is that by cutting down some of that back and forth of forwarding emails or relaying communication, that in those tighter scheduling times, that will better support you all. And so, this is an experiment. Let us know how it's working for you. But the hope is that we're cutting out a step. And so the thing that we'll ask is that you just confirm with, same thing, the person whose name is on that performance request email, the staff member's name, or Kim, if you have a question about who that is, or if there's not a name there, when your date and time is confirmed. And there were some changes to Right Brain last year. And so all Right Brain residencies moved back to a 5-session model, or moved to a 5-session model for the first time for some folks. And overall, lots of positives from schools about this. In addition, some schools were requesting more teacher workshops, and in the end of year evaluations, the other feedback that Right Brain received was that some schools would really love to do a culminating event where students get together and share the work and the learning they've done. And so that may be an additional piece that that you would be requested to do as part of your Right Brain residency. And so that would be additional in the contract. It wouldn't be embedded into the same rate as like a 5 sessions with no culminating event, for example. I don't have a lot more of the follow-up information about that, other than that new culminating event is something that may happen more and more frequently as schools really start to recognize what it offers to be able to come and reflect together on our learning. This is our new event calendar, and I am super excited about it. So one of the ideas behind this calendar was that we want to share what's going on with our roster artists, not just when they're in schools, but the artists on our roster do a lot of amazing things. You have shows in galleries and performances on stages all around the region. Some of those are intended for family audiences and others are not. And so what you'll find on the teaching artists section of our website is there will be a calendar submission form where you can submit your event. And what we'll ask is that there'll be a section for you to note intended audience. So if it's a family audience, you can note that. If it's adults, you can note that. If it's suitable for high school and up, anything like that. And our hope is that we will be driving more traffic to artist social media, and then also getting more traffic on our own social media. And so if that's something that you would like to use that event calendar to publicize shows you have coming up, performances, please do. And so there's a lot of this kind of like data heavy, or there's a form here information can be harder to share about when I can't hand you a paper packet. And so the other thing that I will let you know is that at the end of this week, you will get an email from me that includes the slide deck from today, but that it will also include a link to the teaching artist section of the website with the password. It is teaching artist. And then I'll also include attachments of our teaching artist guide, Right Brain guide, and the TA resource packet. So you will get a lot of, and that also is a place where a lot of the information that you're hearing today can be found in writing. It can be nice to have multiple ways to access things. And if your brain is anything like mine, it doesn't remember everything it hears one time. So we have a number of professional development things coming up. The first thing will be on October 25th. We're going to do a general arts integration training that will be in person. I'll send reservation information about that at the beginning of next week. But that should be hands-on and a lot of fun. And an opportunity to play with arts integration, not strictly with the right brain lens, but the right brain lens will be part of that. And then we have a number of new right brain teaching artists or organizations who've added artists. So we'll have a Right Brain 101 in November. If you are a right brain artist who hasn't done a right brain training in a while and you're curious, let me know if you're interested in coming to another Right Brain 101 training. We'll probably do another one also in the spring as well, or January, February timeframe. And our TA Studio cohort will be starting in November, that and will run for 8 weeks then. And then we will also have a PD in January for right brain artists around developing a right brain teacher workshop. That is another piece that has been requested quite a bit more, and that hopefully will be actually more and more part of that right brain residency package. And so if you wanted time for that. And then Christy with a K, I'm noticing your hand.
Oh, I just want to call out a question that's in the chat, and it's wondering about whether the workshops will be during the day or in the evening.
The workshop on the 25th is in the morning, and the right brain workshops, we will be polling artists who need that PD to find out a time and date that works best for them. And actually, I'm gonna look at my time. The timing question is a good one for me, and I actually am just going to put a pin in that and invite us to talk about that when we get to questions and reflections, because I would love to actually poll folks in this room to find out a little bit more about timing. All right, welcome back, folks. I wanted to, before we move into questions and reflections, I wanted to mention a project that we are really excited about. The Oregon Department of Education has recently taken on a project to adopt the Oregon art standards and look for ways to deliver programming statewide. And so one of the things that has meant is that they have contracted with Arts for Learning as one of the partner organizations to develop a series of video lessons. And Michelle, I am going to let you choose if you want to talk more to it. But I'm also not, like I'm not, if you want to share to it, but specifically what we're teaching artists are designing lessons to offer that will be offered virtually. They will be pre-recorded and offered virtually. And the idea behind that is that all students in the state can access those lessons. And so part of who we're looking for to teach those are artists from outside the Portland metro area, artists who are multilingual, and artists who are culturally representative of Oregon. And so there is an application for more artists. So if that's something that you're interested in, please email me, and then I'm going to make some space for Michelle is one of the artists who will be doing that work to speak to what that's like as a teaching artist, if you want to.
Sure. So currently there's actually 3 pilot teaching artists, myself with 2 other artists that are developing some modules right now, working with this. I want to say to the context of this is really powerful, because we're going to be reaching schools that may not have access to the arts at all. And one thing that I was told within sort of contextualizing what do these modules look like and building some templates is that they're witnessing a gap that many students are receiving arts maybe from potentially middle school. And for instance, like within the performing arts with music, students may not have access to any instruments or even music terminology until they reach that middle school age. So it's an opportunity, even though it's a video, to introduce some concepts, to really bring forward what art can be and its possibility, to introduce even possible vocabulary so that students, when they actually potentially are going into a more an opportunity of an arts program, that they aren't getting overwhelmed. So this is a gap that I was really excited to hear about. I also want to say, even though, like, yes, definitely looking statewide and access points, but I just want to encourage any and all of you, if you're interested, to apply, because even if you feel like, oh, maybe I don't reach that bullet point, there's a lot of videos that actually do need to be generated. And so potentially your art form may be a missing link. And so please do apply. Please do consider applying. Maya, is there a deadline for this or for the application? And I know that we're starting in November, end of this year.
Yes, we are starting end of this year. So as far as I know, there's not a deadline. While we're doing the questions and reflections, I'm actually going to go ahead and find the link to the application, and I'll just drop it in the chat for people right now. And so I'll be able to answer. If I'm wrong on that, I'll know in a few minutes. And I really appreciate your perspective, Michelle, especially that encouragement. Having been a little bit farther back from it, it's super helpful to have that. So thank you for letting me just put you on the spot a bit.
Of course. I also have to say one thing, which was a really important element that we as the pilot teaching artists wanted to make sure, because creating a video, editing, all this sort of stuff may feel intimidating, may feel like, oh, I don't know if I can create this tutorial. But one of the things that we really encouraged, and it looks like that's going to happen, is number one, there's mentorship that's going to be embedded if you do get onto this roster. We're going to make sure, for instance, you don't need to have or completely understand how to make a video, and we're talking with Arts for Learning on how to provide some support points with it. So don't let any of that part, like the technical part of it, intimidate you. Just apply, and we're going to find ways of providing support along your way of generating this video. So please apply. Yes. And say this to many other teaching artists as well, because we would love to have a variety of folk.
Yeah, Peggy, I see your hand up.
Can I just say, I now live in one of these rural communities. I grew up in one of these rural communities, and I can tell you that it is much, 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 much needed in rural parts of Oregon. And, you know, as far as economic equity, you know, it would make a huge difference. Any small amount of the arts in the schools in these smaller communities in Oregon would make a huge difference. It's my passion. And if you can find the space or the way to contribute to that, I highly encourage it. Yeah.
Thank you. Jan, I see your hand also.
So I'm just a clarifying question. This is all virtual, or and so so you don't go there in person, and then so the follow-up question to that is that, do you retain control over that video, or you make this video and then you give it over to Arts for Learning and you no longer have any say over it?
So you make the video and you give it to the Oregon Department of Education. And Michelle, I'm actually looking at your nodding. And then it is so it is what the lesson all includes. The teacher receives a slide deck that includes a 30-minute video made by the artist, that includes ideas for extensions, and other information. And so all of that is offered virtually. Part of the reason why there is an interest in rural artists also is that the state is looking at what can there be some professional development for classroom teachers that is offered by artists? And if that is offered, could that be offered in person? And if that is offered in person, can that be offered by artists from that community? Or at least in part. And so that's part of why they are looking for, that's one of the reasons why we're looking for artists who represent the state, in addition to artists who represent a wide variety of mediums. Does that answer your question? Yeah, and Michelle, you have some follow-up?
Yeah, I would just like to add, so we have been talking about intellectual rights. And yes, indeed, the video, but one thing just to give a little bit more understanding, I would see this work more as an open source material. It is going to be accessible, is my last understanding, meaning that it's not just going to be within, if you did one video project with Arts for Learning, it was just within one district. But with this, the understanding is actually the material may be able to be accessed not just within specific networks, but just a little bit more open even to the public. So it's sort of also where the videos, this is a long conversation that's still in the works. Where's all the data for the videos? Like who, if you actually own it, then for instance, is it on your own channel, or is it on a specific other channel? So you aren't going to complete at this point, you may not completely lose rights to your work. You'll have access to your work, but it needs to also be accessible for Oregon Department of Education.
Yeah, I get just to say that it sounds like a great idea, but it does feel, for me as a teaching artist, it does feel a little just giving up intellectual rights. It just feel, I mean, it kind of, it's what I do as a teaching artist, and it seems a little like, here I'm gonna just give it all away, and then it's like, then you don't need me anymore. So it's like, why, why wouldn't the Department of Education just have us all be on video? And who needs the person now? We're just going to get the videos. So I guess I do have some questions about it that I think are still kind of out there.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, and some of the questions, I think that actually is sort of a perennial, not always answered question, around kind of sharing work in the public domain versus not. And so I don't think that, like, I don't think we will get to a good answer in the next 30 minutes, but I think what I would like to do actually is toggle back a little bit, take a look broadly at a couple of other things for the fall, and then while we're answering and addressing some other questions, I'll let Christy and Christy take those, and then I'll go ahead. I would like to see, I just want to make sure that there's enough interest here right now. I'd like to link that ODE page, because some of the answers that you to those questions that you're asking, Jan, some of those deeper answers may be in there, but I think that this is a new program that the state is trying on. And so to Michelle's point, some of those questions are being asked by the pilot artists. So
Maya, is it accessible for us to give the what is it, the modules?
the palette
Yeah,
image.
the only note I just want to say, and I know that you want to move along, but one thing that sort of helped me understand this particular program is this is really an entry point video. It's not within the little period of time that we're going to be creating this video, we actually aren't going to go into very robust details. And so when thinking about your work and access, some of the things are really, really basic concepts. And I know a lot of the ways we get there is what feels proprietary, but just encouragement to sort of really discern, because I think there are some accessible entry points that like for us as an artist and being a part of it, that we're happy that we can get access to it. That and other teaching artists, if they were able to see it, I hope that they might watch it. So it's in that sort of spirit as well, but I understand what you're saying completely.
Michelle, I want to make sure when you're talking about that, you are talking about the image that has like that we're calling the palette, the color palette image now. Yeah, I think I could share that. So I'll take a look for that as well. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, let me take a look for that.
The roadmap.
Okay, yeah. I think I can. And I think that will help contextualize for folks. So more on that in a few minutes. And a couple of other things that I wanted to touch base on for the fall. As Christy noted, we are moving, and as I noted, we have I would love to talk about affinity meetings and roster artist meetups in that space. Last October, we gathered together and we had a number of table conversations, and those tables were centered around different identities. We had a table for BIPOC artists, we had a table for LGBTQ plus artists, and we had a table for white identifying artists. And the artists at the BIPOC table and the artists at the LGBTQ plus table mentioned that having affinity groups time to just get together and talk about the life of work would be welcome. And I had intended and thought I would be able to schedule those in this last calendar year, and I was not. And so I have some clearings for that. But one of the things that I'm quite excited about with our new space is that roster meetups, social time, affinity meetings are things that may be more possible and simpler for us to do. So I'd like to just, one of the things that we're talking about as a program staff is just having a more reliable calendar for those things that I'll share out. But I just wanted you all to know one of the things we're looking at and grateful for with our new space is also time to be together as communities of artists to support each other. And as we were doing intent to return, you got a lot of surveys from Josephine and I, asking you to fill out different information, and a lot of this is around prep time estimates, supply cost estimates, those kinds of things. If you have not been able to give us firm numbers on some of those components, we'll be reaching out to you. You'll hear from someone on the programs team this fall. And the reason that we're trying to do that is that actually knowing at least a relative range of your prep or supply costs will help us more quickly know whether or not a school's budget is one that has any hope of matching your program. And so really, I think for myself, I tend to, as someone, when I see those things, I have an instinct that I like to leave them off because it makes me more flexible and more malleable and a better fit for schools. But the truth of the matter in this case is it actually makes it take more time because we have less information. And so I'll be reaching out, Kim, Ryan, and Christy will be reaching out to follow up with you all if we have questions about prep times, about supply times, and we will just, we can talk through ways of that it will work for you to kind of get to a smaller range or a more nameable number. The other thing that, as you are thinking about program development and new program ideas, things that we are hearing requests from schools are teacher workshops led by artists. So if you are someone who likes to work with adults in addition to young people, and might want to develop a teacher workshop, that is something that we're seeing some schools have interest in. And then also art programs that support social emotional learning. Oregon has adopted a transformative social emotional learning standards for the state as well. Those competencies are match the CASEL competencies of self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. And so if you have ideas for programs around that you would like to develop, let me know. Those are things that we are hearing more interest from schools on. And now we're coming up to communication, and I actually am going to stop sharing my screen for a bit. And I'm going to invite you all in this next section to raise your hand if you like to share verbally, and to use the chat if you like to share in typed form. And then I will also, in my follow-up email, I will give some space for this. But so right now I send out a teaching artist update once or twice a month to artists. And that includes a lot of roster information about things that are important to know. And it will also it will be a time when I share professional development, meeting times, invitations. If it's a slow news week, I also like to share other opportunities. So if there are residency or grant opportunities that are around, I'll share those as well. I like to share learning opportunities for teaching artists from other organizations. That email has gone from about a 70% open rate to about a 30% open rate. And as I'm talking to you all, I recognize that I am looking most typically at the 30% who open the email. But what I would love to think about and ask you for feedback on are the kinds of things that you really love to know from Arts for Learning, the kinds of things that you learn about, so need to know from Arts for Learning, and the kinds of things that you long for. And that might be, you may long for more information from other organizations, or you may long for less. It may, and so really, if you have thoughts that would make those email updates more meaningful for you, I would love to hear those now, either in the chat or in or with your voice. And it looks like Christy has put the question in the chat as well. So I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna hold for about 5 minutes or so. We'll see how long we need. Thank you. Great. So I will continue to include other organization information when I get it. I am also, if you have access to information that you want to share, you can send that to me. Info for other orgs. Okay, excellent. Public grants. Excellent. Great, thank you. It's helpful to know if it's urgent. And having that in the subject line is usually what I like to do if there's something time sensitive. I'm seeing some nods. Super.
Nikki, I see your hands up. Do you want to share something out loud?
Thank you.
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to say thank you so much for like sending out emails and then sending out reminders, like another sort of recap email that kind of says, okay, this is coming up now. There's a deadline. It's just really great because I can just type in your name and I can find the stuff that sometimes I've missed. And you provide the links really clearly. It's just, I just want to express gratitude because yeah, you guys make it really user friendly, and thank you. And everything that you're including is helpful. I love to hear about if there's an opportunity that's anything teaching artists related, and certainly the grant funded programs and whatnot. Thank you.
So it may just be that we are all really busy people. And we will keep formatting the information. I'm going to keep playing with that. I appreciate knowing that having the links separated. Also really appreciate knowing that having information from other orgs is useful. I love including it there because I like being part of a community. And so it's great to know that that is also helpful and not an extra thing. So we have about 15 minutes left, and what I would actually love to do with that time is to first make room for your questions if you have questions, but also I'm curious if you heard something else that an artist said that they are excited about, that sparked some excitement for you. I would love to bring those voices into the room and share in that way. And Christy, if you don't mind sort of managing questions right now, I'm going to go to the ODE website and look for that Arts Care and Connection information as well.
Oh, can I? Oh, Jen, I guess something that I was very excited about was when Beth, you brought something up, which also like I was just like, oh yes, I think I have the same excitement for not having that product not being the forefront, but like the process working through projects with you know with youth. I mean, I think that's a great thing to look forward to.
Thank you.
Jess had mentioned that she's starting a residency next week, and that made me really excited that there's residencies happening this early in the school year. So congrats, and I feel like that's a sign of good progress back to this being more commonplace and happening all year round. So yay.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a link in the chat. Also, speaking of Jess, this is an event she's involved with this weekend at Cornell Farms, an Oregon Potters Association event.
Thank y'all.
Mhm.
Yeah, and come on out to the showcase this weekend.
Yay.
Is the calendar up and live on the website? So if we have stuff coming up, can we post it there?
Yes, it is. And so what I'm going to do now is drop a bunch of things in the chat. First thing I'm going to drop in the chat is a link from ODE for with basic info about arts, care, and connection. Some of it will take you back to our webpage. And then the next thing I'm going to drop in is the direct link for the application. And then after that, I will show you the calendar application or the calendar submission. So the application is a Google form. And then actually, rather than drop the link to the website, I think what I'll do is share my screen with you here in just a moment. So this is the roster artist area on our website. And you get there from 4 artists, roster artist login, and the password is teaching artist, all lowercase, all one word. And then right here is the new calendar submission form. And so your name, if you are an ensemble member, if you could let us know your ensemble name, the event title, date, and intended audience. Some of us are family artists in our own personal art practice, and some of us are not. So stop share.
From that same page that Maya just was, if you scroll down a little further, that's where you'll find the links to a lot of the documents that she was referring to in terms of like the teaching artist guide, which is kind of, you're not an employee, so it's definitely not an employee handbook, but it's kind of a handbook of things to know about being a partner with Arts for Learning, and then some resources that are there as well. She's going to send them out via email as well, but they're evergreen, available, linked to the website.
And that's actually one of our goals, is that you should be able to access information in multiple ways. So we like it when you can, search through your email for one of our contacts, and then you've got a list of attachments if that's useful. But if that's not useful, to be able to go to the website and have a place there. And so I think also knowing that if there, as technologies continue to evolve, we evolve spaces to share information. And so I welcome ideas for more ways to do that. I think to the point of the teaching artist update and the information that you shared with me today, that reminder that sometimes we're busy and we need multiple reminders, or we need multiple access points. Jess.
Speaking of multiple reminders, there were so many links at once that I got confused. Could you show us the events page thing one more time?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. So here's the events page. And it is at the artist section of our website, that roster artist login. And then I'm going to take some time to scroll a little more slowly because this is a page that I forget about to my own dismay and opposite of benefit. So you can find an actual costs invoice or a contract revision form for your residency or workshop if you need that. If you need a program schedule template, we have the paydays for the year here. And this actually is a document that has been added onto by teaching artists. So if you are looking for liability insurance, that's crowdsourced liability insurance from other teaching artists, and you can access that there as well. That is my jam-packed agenda for today. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about what folks are excited about, what they heard from others that they're excited about for the fall. And then I'll say thank you and good night.
He just won an award for acting, so that was really exciting to hear about.
It's really exciting.
Nikki, because I like sharing links, can I share the link to your film? Is that okay? Okay.
Thank you. You know, I wanted to add, I always think about you guys, like, you know, we have our teaching artist hats on, but, you know, like in the world of your art forms. And I just was wondering if there's an opportunity in the future, like where, like, let's say as an actor, I want to collaborate with an artist from a different modality or an installation piece. I don't know, whatever. Would that be something that I could like email and say, hey, Maya, I'm wanting to focus on something like this. Can I reach out to other teaching artists to see if they are interested in playing?
Yes. Yeah. And we can do that in a number of ways. I tend to keep people's contact information a little private. And so sometimes what I'll do is just reach out to people and say, hey, can I share Nikki's contact info with you? Or can I, share your contact info with Nikki? But in general, most roster artists have indicated a willingness or an interest in collaborating. So yeah.
Cool.
And that too, I think, if it wasn't clear with the event submission, please share not only events that are associated to your work as teaching artists. We would love to know all the other things that you are doing as well.
Thank you.
Speaking of Maya, do you want to share about projects that you have coming up that people could go to?
Oh, I'm going to be part of a Halloween haunted house not suitable for children. The Reformers are an immersive theater group who do a sort of scary experience. And so this year it will be inspired by 80s slasher movies. And it will be at Movie Madness the middle 2 weeks in October. Maybe I'll put that in the event submission form and you can see it. And Andy, you just had an album release over the weekend.
That's true. Yep. I just released my 10th album in 10 years and did a big old release show at Crystal Ballroom, which went great. And so I was really excited about that. And I'll find a link and I'll pop it in the chat. But thank you.
So my big news, just as a heads up for everyone, the reason I'm coming to you from my bed is because I got COVID. So get your vaccine and wear your mask right now because it's going around. I had to cancel a whole bunch of classes. It's a drag.
Oh, Peggy, I'm so sorry.
And I will say, I've been very lucky. This is the first time in 4 years. So, not bad. But yeah, that's why I'm lounging in my guest room.
I feel like I've had the opposite. I survived round 2. But I'm hoping not to make it like the flu. I'm okay with not getting it every year. All right. Well, thank you again very much for your time, for being here, for sharing your thoughts and ideas with each other and with me and with us. So grateful that my work gets to include working with all of you. Really, really deep gratitude for that, and so many thanks. You will have an email from me chock full of attachments and information. Another attachment that you will have, actually a link, will be for the demographics surveys. We send those out each fall. I encourage you to fill those out, fill out a demographic survey. We use those sometimes as artists, as organizations are reaching out and looking for artists from particular demographics. We look for folks who identify as such. Also, if we are inviting folks to affinity meetings, may get to the point where we are inviting folks who have self-identified as opposed to opting in after we've invited the roster. But that is how we use that information currently. All right. Thanks again, and I will be in touch with you all shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank
Good to
you,
see
Maya.
everyone.
Thank you, Christy.
Maya, sorry I was late. I wrote down the time wrong and
Oh,